Welcome to the morning after week 9 of the CFFL season. So we're closing in on the playoffs. We'll have the first FCS rankings today. So you can see where you stand based on points, record, and just my general opinion on where teams sit, injuries and stuff factored in. Last 3 weeks' performance being more heavily weighted. But anyway, we'll jump into the results right now. So the first game of the week that we'll take a look at is the Tices taking down the Bruisers, 71.5 to 58. Two of the hotter teams in the league. Bruisers were hurt relatively significantly, probably only next to the Dingos in terms of the Deshaun Watson injury. As DeAndre Hopkins didn't have as good a week, still a pretty good week. And he got hurt quite a bit by Jameis Winston's injury too. But he falls to the Tices, who ride another hot game by Dak Prescott for the win. In a heartbreaking loss for the Cardinals, they lost by 2.5 after Jared Goff and Marvin Jones combined for 41 points. Russell Wilson had 17 for the Cardinals. Julio Jones dropped touchdown. A Russell Wilson pass to Jimmy Graham that was dropped on a 2-point conversion. All stung on this one, and further bring this all but an inevitability that the season's over for the Cardinals, almost mathematically. Need to win out and have to have a lot of things happen now to make the playoffs. The Garbage Men take out the Dingos, which does keep my playoff hopes slightly alive. 66 to 57. Alshon Jeffrey 16 points, aided by a Zach Ertz injury. Another wonderful news for the Cardinals. Helped him have a huge day. Marshawn Lynch kind of came back with 14.5 points as the Dingos. Not quite enough, as they really missed Deshaun Watson this week. Price is Right took down in Rodgers We Trust, 69 to 66. Carson Wentz's 19.5 points led the Price is Right. Alvin Kamara kind of taking over maybe a little bit in New Orleans after Ingram's fumbles, had 19 points. The Badgers continue their struggles as they fall to the Gargoyles, 48 to 32.5. Gargoyles were led and almost carried entirely by Tyrod Taylor's 21. Kenyon Drake at 6.5 for the Badgers. And finally, the Little Big Men keep their season or the playoff hopes alive. 72.5 to 50, taking down the Bucks. Matt Ryan at 15 for the Bucks. Todd Gurley continuing his revival with 16.5 points for the Little Big Men. Player of the week, unbelievably, is Jared Goff. No one probably saw that one coming. 23 points after 300 yards passing and 4 passing touchdowns. A big day for him, his best game of his career. Sorry about your fantasy team, but your top free agent target this week is probably Corey Clement. 12 rushes, 51 yards, 3 total touchdowns. While he will not have probably near as much action in the future with Ajayi there, although he maybe will be the second option, it's hard to say. He'll be a hot free agent target this week. Next up is the FCS rankings. Like I said, I could take records and points and then my general poll. I did look harder at the last 3 weeks to see who's been playing well. Gargoyles had a really hot start and they're higher in points, but the last couple weeks they haven't done as well without Rodgers. And Kareem Hunt's kind of came back to earth. Badgers, another team that have a really good record. Points, though, he struggled and the last couple weeks have been rough for him. Le'Veon Bell getting back on track would probably help. That's how I weighted this. And so the debut of the rankings just did the top 7. The Horn Dogs and the Bruisers right now are number 1. The Tices are 3. Gargoyles and the Black Dingos tied for 4th. The Price is Right are at 6th. And then the Garbage Men and Bucks are tied at 7th. So right now the most likely team to win the Super Bowl, if you're doing that, would probably be the Horn Dogs or the Bruisers. More the Horn Dogs just because they would have the bye and one less game to play. Games of the week next week, the Bruisers take on the Gargoyles at 5-4 versus 6-3, and the Dingos take on Price is Right, 5-4 versus 4-5. Right now, the Horn Dogs have been really good, but there hasn't been that one dominant team step up. Last year was Price is Right. The year before was me until I ran into the buzzsaw named Danny Woodhead in the playoffs. So we'll have to see who steps up these last couple weeks as the team to beat, and never know, it could be a team like Danny Woodhead-led Bruisers a couple years ago, where they kind of snuck into the playoffs and just had a really good hot streak in there. I think DeAndre Hopkins might have been on that team too. Had a hot streak down the stretch. Bernie would probably be a better one to know on that, but best of luck to everyone except you, Team TK Bucks. my slight hopes, very, very, very slight hopes, need to take you down this week. Otherwise, it is officially over. But thanks for watching, and tune in soon as we'll be back again.